Many of us have been told that the key to success is more willpower and more discipline, but what if that's not true, and what if it's actually holding you back to believe that? Let me explain this with a story. A while back, a group of scientists put a group of fleas in a jar and then they closed the lid on that jar. Now obviously with the lid on the jar, the fleas couldn't jump past where the lid is. But the interesting thing is that once the lid was removed, the fleas still didn't jump past where the lid used to be. In other words, the fleas had developed a collective mental limitation as to how high they could go. A mental barrier had been formed in their minds. And what's also interesting is that when those fleas reproduced, the child fleas also didn't jump past where the lid used to be, even though they had never been exposed to the lid at all. Now, what was the solution for these fleas? Was it to just let them stay in that jar to eventually figure out that they can jump past that invisible lid? The solution was to place them in a new jar where the fleas in that jar had never been exposed to that invisible barrier, and they could thus jump past that invisible barrier. And once the fleas from the other jar were put into this new jar, they eventually started adopting the beliefs and the lack of limitations of the fleas in that new jar, and they eventually ended up jumping past where the invisible lid would be. Now, psychologists coined this phenomenon the Pygmalion Effect, which basically states that the expectations of our environment determine what beliefs we run internally. And so for these fleas, no matter how much willpower they gave themselves to say, I'm going to jump past this invisible barrier, they weren't going to, because their limitations were that there was a barrier there and they couldn't jump past it. And so the solution for them wasn't to will themselves past the invisible barrier, but rather to be placed in a new environment with new expectations, new beliefs, and fleas with, let's just say, higher dreams. And so for us as humans, if we're trying to achieve something that's never been achieved by anybody that we've been around, if we're trying to build this amazing business, or if we're trying to do these amazing things and we're the first ones to even attempt it, we might feel like it's just not possible. We might feel like there's an invisible barrier. And so the solution isn't more willpower and more discipline. I'm a huge proponent of discipline, by the way. I think discipline equals freedom. I think discipline is the way and the path to a good life. But I am also a huge believer in environments and environmental design. And what environmental design is to carefully pick and choose your environments so that you can let the expectations and the beliefs of your environments determine, or rather influence, your internal beliefs and your internal limitations or lack thereof. This is one of the things that separate us from animals, is that animals don't get to choose their environments. They are just placed in an environment and then they do the best that they can. Maybe they wander off into a different environment, but they're not really consciously choosing their environment, saying, this is a good environment, this is an empowering environment, this environment is going to get me what I want. Humans, by contrast, can look at different environments and we can say, that environment is going to instill these beliefs in me, this environment is going to make me think bigger, this environment is going to make me think smaller, so I'm going to go with environment number two. Environment number two being the second one that I mentioned, which was thinking higher, not thinking lower. So sometimes when we are trying our hardest to will ourselves to success, and we keep hitting a wall, instead of thinking that more willpower is the solution, we can turn towards environmental design. We can step into new environments where people are already doing the things that we want to do, and that when we hang around people like that, it makes it possible. It makes us believe that it is possible to achieve these things. And once we believe that invisible barrier has been removed, the expectations have been changed. And this isn't just limited to your physical environment. This can also be your digital environment on your phone. If you're following, if the only people that you're following are people that you went to high school with, that you went to college with, that you went to, that you met at a party or whatever, and they're not really doing much, or their lives are more of the normal route, which is completely fine, but you're trying to do these amazing giant things. If everybody around you is doing normal things and you're trying to do crazy things, then it's going to be very hard for you to believe that you can do crazy things, because you're in an environment where everybody's doing normal things, and that's kind of the limits that is currently in place in your environment. And so one of the beautiful things about the internet is that you can expose yourself to new ideas, new beliefs, new people, new expectations, new limitations, and with those new beliefs and those new limitations, or rather lack thereof, you can start to believe that you can achieve these higher goals, and you can actually go after them with confidence. And so now, instead of trying to will yourself past an invisible barrier, you just smooth up all the way in there because there's no barrier. You just keep going. There's nothing to will yourself past. Now, there's the flip side of it too. Not only does a positive environment help you and empower you to rise up, but a negative environment will also pull you down, because not only is there an invisible barrier that is there, but if the environment is also negative, you also have people that are pulling you down. It reminds me of the story of the crabs, which says that if you have crabs in a bucket, you don't have to put a lid on the bucket, because the crabs, every time a crab tries to escape, the other crabs will pull it down. And so if you're in an environment full of crabs, no amount of willpower is going to help you get out of the bucket. So while I'm a huge believer in discipline, and I talk about building your discipline muscle and how to do that in all of my videos, willpower alone is not enough. Willpower is a finite resource. And this finite resource largely gets either replenished or extinguished by your environment. So instead of focusing obsessively and exclusively on willpower, try focusing a little bit more on environmental design and picking and choosing environments that are going to empower you instead of disempower you. Now, if you like this video, I think you'll also like this video right here on why you never finish what you start and how to fix it. And as always, if you enjoy this content, make sure you join the community, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment letting me know what you liked and what you want to see more of. And if you want even more resources, click the link in the description box below that will take you to my website, where you can download your free copy of the 4-step morning routine, a quick start guide to high performance and peace of mind. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.